welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan, and this is my If You Like This, You Might Like That book recommendations video. So I have seen a lot of booktubers make similar videos to this, and kind of my biggest gripe or critique to those videos is that oftentimes they're recommending two super hyped books. So if I've read one and loved it, I've usually already read the other one that they recommended. And so I have made a conscious effort to try to take very hyped books and recommend some underhyped or lesser known books that I've also loved, so that if you've read and loved one, there's probably a small chance that you've already read the other one. And to kind of prove that, or to help in my planning, I've also written down how many people have rated these books on Goodreads and what their average ratings are, so that I can be sure that the books that I'm recommended are lesser known than the ones that you may have already read and liked. So, to start, the first book that you may have read and loved is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a science fiction novel that has to do with alternate realities. The plot is this man, I think his name is Jason, is walking down a dark road one night when he gets knocked unconscious, and when he wakes up, his wife is not his wife, his son does not exist anymore, and he's just trying to get back to his normal life. And if you've enjoyed this book, you are among over 218,000 other people on Goodreads who have read this and have rated it over a 4-star average, so it's a very popular book. I would recommend, if you liked this, to also check out this book, which is called Do You Realize by Kevin A. Kuhn. And this is also a science fiction novel about a man named George who is kind of stuck in a rut in his life, and he is offered the opportunity to beta test this app that allows him to jump back in time. And this gave me Dark Matter or Recursion vibes. If you've read either of those, I think you will really enjoy this. It explores, what would you do if you could go back and relive certain parts of your life, or if you could change certain parts of your life, would you do that? I really enjoyed this book. I also gave it 5 stars. I gave Dark Matter and Recursion and this book 5 stars. And this has only been read by 518 people at the time I'm filming this on Goodreads. It has over a 4-star average as well. So I would highly recommend this. I would consider it underhyped. I will have links down below for all of these books that I am recommending if you are interested in checking them out. The next book that I would like to reference is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is a historical fiction novel about Evelyn Hugo, who is a Hollywood starlet. She's an actress who has risen to fame and has gone through 7 husbands along the way. And this is kind of her life story, answers the question, who was her one true love? If you have read this book, you are among 147,000 other people. If you've enjoyed it, I would also recommend City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, this is the one where both books are pretty popular already, so there is a good chance, if you've read Evelyn Hugo, that you've at least heard of City of Girls, and you may have also read it. But the reason I would recommend it, if you haven't already read it, it is also a historical fiction novel about a woman named Vivian who moves to New York and lives with her aunt who owns a theater, and Vivian becomes the costume director for that theater. And so she also is going through the showbiz, and very similarly, this is kind of her life story and kind of the love along the way. So both of these books I really enjoyed. I gave Evelyn Hugo 5 stars, I gave City of Girls 4 stars, and if you have read one and not the other, I think that you would really enjoy the other one. City of Girls has only been rated by 93,000, so about 50,000 fewer people have read City of Girls than Evelyn Hugo, so if that's you, I recommend it. The next pair of books, I actually don't own either of them, but the first one I want to talk about is Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So same author as Evelyn Hugo. Maybe in Another Life is a romance novel about a woman who has a decision to make at the end of one night, where she's at a party and she can choose to either go home with her roommate or she can stay out and hang out with this guy who she's kind of rekindling a love with. And at that point, when she's making that decision, the book splits into 2 timelines. One where she makes the decision to go home with her roommate, how that plays out in her life, and one where she stays out with this guy, that plays out, and it just kind of brings up how much do little decisions in your life really impact your life. It's a really good book. 39,000 people have read it on Goodreads, and if you have read that and enjoyed that, then I would recommend the book In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. This is a new release book. Only 5,000 people have read it and rated it on Goodreads at the time I'm filming this, but this is about a woman who has just gotten engaged to the love of her life. She's super excited, and when she falls asleep one night, she wakes up and she's 5 years into the future, and she's not married to the guy that she was engaged with. Her life is totally different, and after that little flash into the future, she goes back to her original life where she did just get engaged, and she kind of has to live her life knowing that in 5 years she's not going to be where she expected to be. So they are very similar in tone. Obviously the plots are pretty different, which is good, but it just raises kind of the same questions about how you live your life if you knew different things about your life in the future. I think I gave Maybe in Another Life 4 or 5 stars, and I gave In 5 Years 3 stars, but that's not to say that they aren't both good books, and that if you liked one, I do think you would still like the other one. The next beloved book that I want to talk about is Beartown by Fredrick Backman. This is about a town called Beartown. That's kind of a hockey town, so everyone who lives here loves hockey, loves the hockey team and all of the players on the team. People are kind of torn in two because one of the boys on the hockey team does something that is not so good, and it kind of has to be determined, should he be punished, ultimately penalizing the whole hockey team for his decisions and risking their successful season, or doing what's right and really bringing him to justice when he did something wrong. Because this has those small town vibes and is so centered around the love of hockey, the love of a sport, I would recommend this book, The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach. This is about baseball, so it's not hockey, not the same in that way, but it's about the players on a collegiate baseball team. Both of these books are very emotional, and this one is quite a bit longer. It goes into the players' lives over a longer period of time, but they both raise a lot of tough questions about life, growing up, doing the right thing, and I think that if you enjoy Beartown and just kind of the solemn tone of it with a little bit of the sports focus, I think you would also like The Art of Fielding. Beartown has over 186,000 ratings on Goodreads. The Art of Fielding has over 100,000 ratings, so less than Beartown, but still quite a lot. But I have not seen this book talked about on BookTube at all. I actually only have this book because my husband owned it and read it and recommended it. So if sports and serious storylines are up your alley, and you've read Beartown and loved it, I think you should try The Art of Fielding. And the last book that I want to talk about is Illuminae by Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. This is a science fiction book about 2 teenagers who are living on spaceships, 2 different spaceships actually, and they're communicating back and forth about everything that's happened on their spaceships, the state of the universe right now, and their relationship, kind of trying to reunite and hopefully live to see that day. Over 100,000 people have read it and read it on Goodreads, and I think if you read it and loved it, you would also like Do You Dream of Terra-Two by Temi Oh. This is also a science fiction novel centered around teenagers in space. It's about 6 teenagers who have made the decision to go on a journey to a new planet called Terra-Two, and the journey is 23 years long, so in making the decision to go, they are leaving behind their families, their relationships, everything. They only have each other to rely on throughout this journey, and only a little over 1,000 people have read this on Goodreads. So because it's in space, because it follows teenagers, it gave me very similar vibes to Illuminae. This is told in mixed media format. This is just a regularly told novel, so they're not the same in that aspect. But I just think that if you liked this, you would also really enjoy this. So that is it for my recommendations. I hope that if you liked any of the books that I have mentioned, that you will try out the other ones. If you have read any of them, let me know. And if you have any other similar recommendations for any of the books that I mentioned, please let me know, because I have liked them and would like to try more similar books to them too. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.